everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to crochet the star stitch. Now this stitch was actually suggested to me by one of my Instagram followers, Nushin Crochet. Hopefully I pronounced that right. So thank you for your suggestion. I actually didn't know how to do this stitch prior to about a week ago, so I did actually have to learn it before filming this tutorial. So I've been practicing over the last week, and now I think I've pretty much got it down pat, so I'm going to give you guys a tutorial and teach you how to do it. So thank you to Nushin Crochet on Instagram for suggesting this stitch and making me go outside my comfort zone a little bit, because I do tend to just stick to double crochet, half double crochets and single crochets for the majority of my work. So thank you for your suggestion, and if any of you guys have any suggestions on stitches or anything else that you would like me to do a tutorial on, please comment below and I will definitely add it to my list of tutorials to film for you guys. So anyway, let's jump into it. So I'm basically using a 4mm crochet hook today with a acrylic yarn. You obviously can use any crochet hook and any yarn that you like, depending on what you are making and your personal preference. Today I thought I would color code my hook with my yarn. Why not, right? Now to get started, what we'll need to do is chain up our foundation chain. Now you can chain up as many as you like, as long as it is in multiples of 2. So for this stitch you do need to chain up multiples of 2. So you could chain up 100 stitches, you could chain up 180 stitches, you could chain up 10 stitches or 12 stitches, anything you like, as long as it is in multiples of 2. So for demonstration purposes today, I am going to chain up 20 stitches. So just starting off with that slip knot there and onto our hook. And now I'm going to chain up 20. So So now I've got 20 chains. We can get started. So again, just remember, you can chain up as many as you like, but just make sure it is in multiples of 2. So it has to be an even number, basically. Okay, so to get started on our first star, what we're going to do is skip that very first chain stitch there and insert our hook into that second chain stitch from our hook. So 1, 2. So that second stitch is where we're going to be first inserting our hook. Okay, so all we're doing is inserting our hook right into that second chain from our hook, yarning over, pulling through. So we now have 2 loops on our hook. Okay, and now we're just going to do that exact same thing again in that third chain from our hook. So inserting our hook, yarning over and pulling up a loop. So we now have 3 loops on our hook. Again, inserting into that next chain, yarning over, pulling up a loop, and we now have 4. Now we're just doing this twice more until we have 6 loops on our hook. So pulling up another loop, and pulling up another loop. So there we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on our hook. Okay, so now all we're going to do is yarn over and pull that yarn through all 6 loops on our hook, like so. Now to finish off our first star, we're just yarning over and chaining 1, which then creates the center of our star, or the eye. Okay, so that's our very first star stitch. It will look a little bit more like a star once we finish the next this row and the next row, but that's our first star complete, so well done. Now we're going to move on to our next star. So just like I said, our last chain created the eye of our star, so we are going to be inserting our hook into that eye. So just inserting like so, yarning over and pulling up a loop. Okay, and then next we're inserting our hook in between the last 2 stitches of our previous star. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches made up our last star, and now you can pull them apart a little bit and just see the gap in between. The last 2 stitches of our previous star is where we are inserting our hook next, okay? So just inserting into there, yarning over and pulling up another loop. So we now have 3 loops on our hook. Now, the stitch that we finished our previous star in is this chain here. So you'll see that our last stitch finished in this chain here. Now all we're going to be doing now is inserting our hook into that chain and pulling up another loop, like so. So we now have 4 loops on our hook. Now, just like our previous star, we do need to have 6 loops on our hook. So the next 2 loops are going to come from the next 2 chains, okay? And that is why we have to chain up our foundation chain in multiples of 2, because we are going to be increasing by 2 stitches with each star that we do. So hopefully that makes sense. So again, just inserting our hook into that very next chain and pulling up a loop to make 5 loops on our hook, and then we just have to do that same thing once more into that next chain, inserting our hook, yarning over and pulling up a loop. So we now have 6 loops on our hook. So then again, just like the previous star, we're yarning over and then pulling through all 6 loops on our hook, just like so. So then to finish off this second star, again, we're just chaining 1, which then creates the eye of the star or the center of the star. Okay, so again, we're just inserting our hook into the eye of the star, yarning over and pulling up a loop to make 2 loops on our hook, and then again into the middle of the last 2 stitches of the previous star. So just into there, yarning over, pulling up a loop to make 3 loops on our hook, and then again into that chain where we ended our previous star, inserting and pulling up a loop to make 4, and then we're going to be increasing by 2. So we're going to be, sorry, not increasing, extending by 2. So inserting our hook into that very next chain, pulling up a loop, and then again in the next chain and pulling up a loop. So we should now have our 6 loops on our hook. So we are just going to yarn over and pull through all 6 loops and chaining 1 to finish off our star. So far you should have something that looks a little bit like this. It should be starting to take shape. It will look better obviously once we finish this round and the next row, and you will be able to see the stars a bit more defined, but this is what it should look like so far. So basically you just continue doing what we've been doing right up until the end of your chain stitches. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to go ahead and finish off this row, and I'll meet you right back here at the end and show you what to do for the next row. So here I am at the end of the row, so I am just going to quickly finish off my last star. Chaining 1 to finish it off. And now to finish the row, we're going to do a half double crochet into that same chain that we just inserted our hook and pulled up a loop into. So the very last chain that we went into to pull up a loop is where we're going to be inserting our half double crochet. So yarning over, through. So that's our half double crochet there, and that just finishes off the end of the row and gives it a nice straight finish. Okay, so this is what your first row should look like. And now we're going to begin on our second row. So basically the star stitch is made up of a combination of 2 rows. So you just repeat the same 2 rows over and over and over until you get your project the length that you want it. So to start our next row, we're just chaining 1 and turning our work. And then we're going to single crochet into that very first stitch there. So just inserting our hook into that very first stitch. And single crocheting. And then you'll be able to see the eye of that star. That's where we're inserting our hook next, and we're going to be doing a single crochet. So inserting into the eye of that last star we created and just single crocheting. Okay, so that's how you start off the next row. Now for the rest of the row, all we're going to do is 2 single crochet into each eye of each star. Okay, so just into the center of each star, 2 single crochet. So inserting into star there, 1, 2 single crochet, then again into that next star, 1, 2 single crochet, and then again, then again, and just completing that all the way till the end until you've done 2 single crochet into each star. Okay, so here we are at the end of the row. I have done 2 double crochet in each star across, and then to finish off the row, all we're doing is single crocheting into that very last stitch there. So inserting our hook and single crocheting into that last stitch. Okay, now we're chaining 2 to begin our next row. And the start of this one can be a little bit tricky, so watch closely. So I'm turning my work, and then you'll see you'll see where your chains are. You'll have the top chain, which is the last chain you just did, and then you've got the first chain you did, okay, at the start of the chain 2. Now you want to insert your hook into the front side of that chain. So if you turn it over, you'll see that it's got 1, 2 sides. This will be the back side, and this is the front side. Okay, so you want to insert your hook into that first chain that you did, but only through the front side, if that makes sense. So just like this. Like so. Okay, and then you are going to yarn over and pull up a loop. So you've got 2 loops on your hook. Okay, now this part's a little bit tricky. So you want to now insert your hook into the back of the chain. So that was the front of the chain that we just inserted our hook into, and now we're inserting into the back of the chain, which is here. Okay, so it can be a little bit tricky, but you do pick it up with a little bit of practice. So just like so, yarning over and pulling up a loop. So we now have 3 loops on our hook. Okay, and now we're inserting our hook into that very first stitch there. Okay, so a little bit easier now, inserting our hook into that first stitch, yarning over and pulling up a loop to make 4 loops on our hook. Okay, and now we're going to be extending by 2. So inserting into that next stitch, pulling up a loop to make 5, and then again into the very next stitch, pulling up a loop to make our 6 loops. That will then turn into our star. So yarning over and pulling through all 6 loops, and then chaining 1 to finish off. And that's the first star of our 3rd row. Okay, so now we're going to be creating our second star of this row. And just like the first row, it's exactly the same. So we're going to be inserting our hook into the eye of this star that we just created with our chain 1, pulling up a loop, then inserting between our 2 last stitches of the previous star, pulling up a loop, then inserting into that stitch there where we finished off our previous star, pulling up a loop, and then we're extending by 2. So just pulling up loops into those next 2 stitches to create our 6 loops on our hook. Okay, now just yarning over and pulling through all 6, then chaining 1 to finish off our star and create that eye. Okay, so is that starting to make sense? I hope I'm explaining it okay. As I said, I did have to learn this stitch myself before filming this tutorial, but hopefully I'm explaining it okay. If I'm not, please comment below and I will do my very best to try and translate what I'm trying to say. So I'll show you one more time and then I'll just go ahead and finish off this row. So just inserting into that eye, pulling up a loop, then we're inserting in between the last 2 stitches, pulling up a loop, and then again into that stitch where we finished off our last star, pulling up a loop, and then extending by 2. So 1, 2 into the next 2 stitches. Okay, so that's again given us our 6 loops on our hook. So we're just yarning over, pulling through all 6, and then chaining 1 to finish that star. Okay, now just continue with that method all the way across until you've reached the very end of your work, and I'll meet you right back there at the end. So here I am at the end of that row. So again, to finish off this row, all we need to do is half double crochet into that very last stitch where we just finished our star. So just yarning over and inserting our hook and completing our half double crochet to finish the row. You will see that it does create quite a nice straight edge on that side, which gives a really nice clean finished look. Okay, so then to start our second round, our second row, it will be obviously our single crochet row for the next row. So we're chaining 1, turning our work, and then single crocheting into that very first stitch there. Just like so. And then inserting our hook into the eye of that star there and doing 1 single crochet. There we go. And then for the rest of the row, it will be 2 single crochet in each eye of each star, all the way till the end of your row. Okay, so then basically you just keep continuing with this method over and over again until you reach your desired length or desired size of your project, and then you can finish it off, cut your yarn, sew in your ends, and you'll be left with a beautiful, beautiful, clean, pretty finished product. As you can already see, this stitch is really, really pretty, gives a beautiful effect, and you can probably use it for just about anything. I think it would be great for dishcloths or face washes, or even garments and scarves. It would be a great stitch for any project, really. Anyway, that is the star stitch. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I explained it okay. It is a little bit of a tricky stitch to get your head around, but I promise once you master it, you will not go back. It's such a beautiful stitch. As I said, it can be used in so many different ways and for so many different things, and I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. As I said, if you guys have any suggestions or any stitches or projects that you would like me to give you guys a tutorial on, please feel free to comment below or contact me via my social media, and I will endeavour to put out the tutorials that you guys would like to see. So having said that, if you liked this tutorial, please give me a thumbs up, and if you would like to be notified of future tutorials, please make sure you subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a great day.